On this episode, Boise State housing policy change, virtual reality, and information on a cosmetics website in disguise. And just for laughs, social media critics and pig gamers. These stories and more up next on Take One. Welcome to Take One. I'm Madeline Molitor. Has it ever crossed your mind how expensive college is? But more importantly, has it ever crossed your mind how expensive college is during a pandemic? Especially when most or all of your classes are online? This issue crossed the minds of 3 Oregon college students who filed 2 lawsuits asking to be reimbursed tuition for the 2020 school year. The lawsuits were filed against the University of Oregon as well as Oregon State University. They were filed because the students were upset that after being sent home, they were still being charged the same amount of tuition as before the pandemic started. An attorney for the students in both cases stated that the clients did not get the full value of what they paid for when the campuses closed and switched to online sessions. Both schools continue to claim that they provide students with a high-quality education. Students at other universities seem to be filing the same sort of lawsuits against their schools. Some of these schools are well-known universities such as Brown, Harvard, Pepperdine, University of Southern California, and Boston University. Now over to you, Michaela.
Thanks, Madeline. Due to COVID-19, Boise State University on-campus housing has had a lot of policy changes over the last year. First, in order to protect students' health and safety, in March 2020, Boise State University sent on-campus residents home to reduce the spread of the virus. All the fall semester, even though students were able to return to campus, guests were no longer allowed in dorms or other on-campus housing. Yet as of Monday, April 5th, 2021, on-campus housing will no longer prohibit guests. This change has been approved since more people have been getting vaccinated, and Boise State on-campus residents have had only a 2% positivity rate as of recent numbers. This policy change is excellent for students who have been wanting to visit friends, but have not had the opportunity to. Housing and Residence Life believes this policy change will boost the moods and mental, emotional, and social health of students who may be feeling lonely, anxious, or depressed during the pandemic. Residents must communicate with their roommates about whether or not they feel comfortable having guests enter their space once the new policy takes effect. This does not mean that students have complete free range to cram-pack dozens of students in their room. Student capacity will range depending on the residence hall, so ask your RA for more information. The new policy indicates that students and guests still must wear masks when socializing and recommends maintaining a social distance of 6 feet. Residents are responsible for the safety and attitude of their guests, and if guests do not comply, residents may be given warnings or write-ups for noncompliance. Overnight guests are permitted as long as they not stay more than 2 consecutive nights or 3 total nights in a week. An overnight guest indicates someone coming over for a sleepover, game night, study group, etc. between the hours of 12 a.m. and 7 a.m. Only 2 overnight guests are allowed, and quiet time are still enforced. Remember, guests are never allowed to be left alone in residence halls, and at least one roommate must be present with their guests at all times. Stay safe and have fun, Broncos. With all the advancements in technology, it's crazy to think about all the things we can do these days. Fabian Panassa tells us about all the history behind virtual reality.
Have you ever wanted to escape the stresses of reality, especially on a gloomy day like this? Well, what was once thought to be an impossible fantasy is finally starting to make its way into the hands of the average consumer. I'm Tavian Panassa, and this is what to know about virtual reality technology. While first predicted in the 1930s through a science fiction novel, this unique technology, which enables the user to experience the illusion of a different reality, has evolved very fast over the 20th and 21st century. But earliest attempts at virtual reality can trace back to 1838 with stereoscopic photos and viewers, as well as panoramic photos from the 19th century. One of the most notable advancements happened around 1966 with the development of the first modern flight simulator, which was used in military pilot training. With its practical use and entertainment value realized, the technology to experience VR soon became much cheaper over time. Another tangent related to this fascinating technology arrived in the form of augmented reality. The difference between these two was that augmented reality would composite a computer-generated image onto the user's view of the real world. Virtual reality places the user in a completely virtual environment, accounting for 3D space and physical interaction. Dr. Cutchins, the Associate Professor in the Department of Computer Science, shares some of their favorite aspects of virtual reality.
I personally like to focus on increasing the realism inside of the spaces. So the more it can make it feel like you've entered another, the more realistic we can make it where, visual realism is maximized. You feel like you're in a totally different place and you can move around in that space. It becomes natural and realistic. That to me is the magic of virtual reality. You're totally someplace else and you really feel like you're in that other location.
I'm Tavian Panassa, and that's what to know about virtual reality technology.
I think a lot of people would wish that 2020 was a VR simulation. Now over to you, Marcos.
Thanks, Michaela. Boise State has a large number of commuter students that commute regularly from places like Canyon County. Now, a high-capacity transit system could be coming to the Treasure Valley to help serve the growing number of everyday commuters. Joining us from the Arbiter to discuss his reporting is Phoenix Dietz. So, obviously, they're in the early stages of the planning process, but what did you uncover from your reporting?
So I uncovered that the data really showed that a lot of people really want a high-capacity transit system and that they'd be willing to use it if it was affordable.
And then what would the transit system look like if and when it's built?
So they're exploring 3 options. One would be like a bus with its own lane, or the other 2, the most popular, are some sort of train system or rail system that could be used.
Interesting. When would we potentially see a transit system like this be built?
We probably wouldn't see something like this for another 20 years.
Be sure to check out Phoenix's article at arbiteronline.com. Now let's send it over to the Spec Studio with Jordan and Eric.
You know, I'm pretty excited about the new transit system, but I'm honestly going to miss being berated by drifters on the local buses.
You know, I gotta agree. And what about all the freshmen? I mean, they don't really have cars. And I know as a freshman, I would take the bus all the time.
It's very true.
Right. Do you think you have good taste? Do you look at your movie collection, music playlist, or game library and think, you know, all these are pretty solid. I don't see how anyone could disagree. Well, as it turns out, someone does. With a quick post to Instagram, Twitter, Reddit, or any other social media site, you'll find a whole slew of experts who will be more than happy to tell you why your taste in any form of art is terrible. Whether it be music, movies, classic European architecture, nothing is safe. Whatever your opinion is, it's wrong. And frankly, you should be ashamed of ever thinking it wasn't. The days of simply enjoying something without deconstructing and analyzing every last bit of it are over. Unless you can type out a 5-page essay about why your chosen form of entertainment is better than all the others, then why bother in the first place?
A recent study revealed that pigs can be trained to play video games with their snouts. No, we're not talking Call of Duty here, but at Pennsylvania State University, 4 pigs, Hamlet, Omelette, Ebony, and Ivory, were taught to play a simple joystick-operated game. The joystick moved a computer cursor around the screen, and the pigs were rewarded with treats when the cursor hit one of the 4 walls. There were even increasingly harder levels, with the number of walls going from 4 all the way down to 1. I mean, come on, these pro gamers have got nothing on those green round guys from Angry Birds. Ivory was the strongest of the group and got up to the last level about 76% of the time. The researchers originally took this game from a study involving chimpanzees and rhesus monkeys, and sadly, the pigs did not do as well as them. Monkeys do have hands though, which kind of gives them an advantage. But all in all, everyone involved in this project was really surprised by the intelligence levels of the subjects. They have lived great lives in their post-gamer years, but I think they retired far too early in their careers. All I know is that these guys, pigs, sorry, could have made great Twitch streamers. You know, how many pigs do you think it takes to screw in a light bulb?
It's a really random question, but probably, I mean, if they're playing video games, 2 at max?
At least 2.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like,
We'll talk later, fellas. Take care.
I think it could be
hey,
1.
Stick around
What
after
is-
the
Really
show
one.
tonight. Sarsaparilla's on me. Evening, folks. Evening, everybody.
I have no idea.
Evening, folks. Quite the show tonight, isn't it? Doesn't it just grind your gears when the speakeasy ain't poppin'? Why, just the other night, me and the fellas were ankling over to 46th Street looking for a good time when, pow, out of nowhere, the fuzz pulls up. Well, I says to Crosby, we better get the heck out of here before things head south. And you know what that crazy old cat said to me? He says, Frank, don't be such a blue nose and pass the giggle water.
Stop, hold on, wait a second. Who's this guy? Hey, buddy, who are you? Where's Ben?
Listen, kid, you want to come on my program? You got to play by my
Your
rules.
program?
Now keep it down, you'll waste the picture.
what?
Anyhow, anyone else notice all those hotsy-totsy youths getting handsy at the petting pantry these days? Tell you what, a fella can't even go see the newsreels anymore without some spifflicated young dewdropper making whoopee with some choice cut of calico 2 rows over. Yeah, tough crowd. You know, me and Crosby went half-seas over at his place the other night. Canceled stamps next door ratted on us before our loose lips could sink any ships. Tell you what.
Dude, nobody knows what you're talking about. Like, I don't...
Bonus Balonus. Tell it to Sweeney, you dirty commie.
Who's Sweeney?
get someone? Like, who are you?
Don't bother, I'll see myself out, Toots. Now, if you'll all excuse me, I gotta go see a man about getting my shoelaces ironed, if you know what I mean.
We don't know what you mean. Nobody alive on Earth today knows what you mean.
Hold this, friend.
Oh.
Don't drink that.
Listen, you better watch your mouth, or I'll call McCarthy. He's a family friend, owes me a favor. Thank you.
Okay. My bad.
All right, fellas, how about those sarsaparillas, huh? Let's hightail it out of this joint.
I don't know if I should stay here.
Yeah, I think we should get some security.
I think we need...
Did he just call me Toots?
He did call you Toots.
I don't know what to do now.
Yeah, no, it's, let's just throw it back over to Madeline, Marcos, and Michaela in the 360 studio, I guess.
Thanks, guys. In April of 2020, it became apparent that coronavirus lockdowns were causing a surge of domestic abuse cases in every country across the world. Even if in some police data it isn't recorded, calls to hotlines have gone up over 50%. So, a Polish teenager decided to do what she could to help. Almost a year ago now, she launched a cosmetics website which translates to chamomile and pansies. A victim seeking help can hide requests for help from their abuser by appearing to be shopping online. So, if someone writes in asking to buy a face cream, instead of a salesperson, a psychologist will answer asking how long their skin problems have been going on. Placing an order and leaving an address means an immediate request for the authorities to intervene. The creator originally only wanted to help friends and their friends too, but soon more people than they could have imagined were using this website. So, they reached out to the Women's Rights Center in their country and got psychologists and lawyers to work with them. More than 350 people have received help now, most of them being under 40 and with 10% being male. Chamomile and Pansies also won a UE's Civil Solidarity Prize as a project tackling consequences of COVID-19. That's all the time we have for you today. Thanks to all the crew and writers for the episode. I'm Madeline Molitor.
And I'm Marcos Guadarrama.
And I'm Michaela Clay.
I'm Eric Ryan.
And I'm Jordan Puckett. We'll see you next time on Take One.